All right, let's talk about creatine. For years, we've pretty much had it pegged as a muscle-only supplement, right? Well, today, we're gonna completely rethink that. We're gonna explore why its biggest benefits might not be for your biceps, but for your brain.
So let me just ask you this, straight up. You take creatine for your muscles, you're consistent, you're getting results. But what if, in doing that, you're accidentally shortchanging your brain, especially on the days it's crying out for fuel?
To really get this, we have to pit the old school thinking against what the new science is telling us. And trust me, it's a huge shift in how we should be looking at this amazing molecule. And here it is, side by side. The old thinking was simple. Creatine equals muscle, and 5 grams is the magic number for everyone, period. But the new science, it's way more interesting. It shows us that creatine is absolutely crucial for brain energy, and that magic number doesn't really exist. The right dose completely depends on what you're trying to achieve. Okay, so why is the brain so needy anyway? Well, it really comes down to the crazy energy bill that comes with just living our modern lives. Your brain is basically in a constant state of low-grade energy crisis. Just look at this number, 20%. Your brain, which is just a couple pounds of tissue, chews through a fifth of your entire daily energy budget. It is an incredibly expensive piece of equipment to run. And that huge energy demand, it goes through the roof when you're stressed. And I'm talking about everyday stuff, pulling an all-nighter, cramming for a test, hopping on a long flight, or honestly, even just the normal stress of getting older. All of these things put an enormous metabolic strain on your brain. So you're probably thinking, if the brain's so hungry, why don't we just give it more fuel? Well, that brings us to the real crux of the issue. I'm calling it the Great Barrier Problem. See, your brain has this elite security force called the blood-brain barrier. It's amazing at keeping bad stuff out, but it's also super picky about what it lets in. And creatine, it's not exactly on the VIP list. It doesn't just get to waltz right in. And this quote just nails the difference. Your muscles are like a vacuum cleaner. They just suck up any creatine available in your blood. But your brain, it's like a picky gatekeeper that says, nope, I'm only gonna take what I absolutely need and only when I'm desperate. And this right here is why that standard 5-gram dose we all know just doesn't cut it for the brain. Because of that picky barrier, the dose that works so well for your muscles, well, it pretty much fails when it comes to your brain. Now, I'm not saying it's completely useless. If you have a super low-stress life and you take 5 grams every single day for like months and months, yeah, some of it will probably eventually trickle into your brain. But that's a whole lot of ifs and a very, very long time. Here's the kicker. In those exact moments when you need it most, when you haven't slept or you're mentally exhausted, your brain is screaming for fuel. And that little 5-gram dose, it just doesn't raise the creatine levels in your blood high enough to convince that picky gatekeeper to open the doors. So if 5 grams is a no-go for the brain under pressure, then what's the answer? Well, let's get into the good stuff. The breakthrough doses that the science shows can actually move the needle. First up, we've got 10 grams. This seems to be the new baseline for cognitive support. Research has shown that taking 10 grams a day can actually double the rate of creatine increase in the brain. Think of this as your daily driver for keeping the tank topped off. But what if you know a stressful event is coming? That's where 20 grams comes in. This is what the top brain studies use as a loading dose. It's perfect for when you're about to get on a plane for 12 hours or head into a week of exams. You're loading up your brain's fuel reserves ahead of time. And then you have the big red emergency button, 25 grams. In one incredible study, a single 25-gram dose was shown to significantly help with memory and thinking in people who'd been kept awake for 21 hours straight. This is your rescue dose. It's for when you're already in the hole and need to perform. So let's just quickly walk through how this works, because it's actually pretty simple. Step 1, your brain gets stressed out from something like sleep loss. Step 2, you hit it with a high dose, which floods your bloodstream with creatine. Step 3, your brain, now desperate for energy, finally lowers its defenses and starts pulling that creatine in. And the result? Your brain has the fuel it needs and your performance is supported when it would have otherwise tanked. Okay, we've gone through all the science, all the why. Now let's put it all together into a simple, practical playbook that you can actually start using for both your mind and your muscles. And honestly, this table says it all. If your only goal is muscle maintenance, hey, 3 to 5 grams is still your sweet spot. But if you want daily support for your brain to keep things running smoothly, you're going to want to bump that up to 10 grams. And for those brutal days, the all-nighter, the jet lag, that's when you pull out the big guns, a strategic one-time dose of 20 to 25 grams. It's all about matching the dose to the demand on your brain.
So, as we wrap this up, this whole deep dive on creatine kind of leaves us with one big lingering question, doesn't it? For so long, we just saw this as a body supplement. It really makes you wonder, what else is out there? What other powerful brain boosters are hiding in plain sight, just because we've had them mislabeled for years?
Today, we're talking about one of the most powerful, transformative tools you have for your brain. And no, it's not some new app or expensive pill. It's something way more accessible, and it comes with benefits that are immediate, long-lasting, and incredibly protective.
I mean, seriously, what if there was just one thing you could do, right now, that would make you feel better and think clearer for the rest of the day?
And what if that exact same thing was also like a long-term insurance policy for your mind, helping to shield it from things like dementia and Alzheimer's disease? Well, that powerful tool is real.
And the story of how neuroscientist Wendy Suzuki discovered it is amazing, because it didn't happen in some fancy lab. It happened because she accidentally became her own test subject.
So, let's talk about Dr. Wendy Suzuki. At the peak of her career, she was this world-renowned neuroscientist studying memory. I mean, she had it all figured out, right? Well, outside the lab, her life was telling a very different story. On paper, she was a huge success, but in reality, she had no social life, she'd gained 25 pounds, and honestly, she was miserable. The real wake-up call came on a river rafting trip, where she realized she was the weakest person there. And that was it. That sparked a mission. She was gonna get strong. So she hit the gym. And she didn't just dip her toe in, she went all in. Tried every class she could find. And you know what kept her coming back? It wasn't some distant goal. It was the immediate payoff, that fantastic boost in her mood and energy after every single workout. So then, about a year and a half into this new routine, she's sitting at her desk, working on this really tough research grant, when a thought just pops into her head. Grant writing is going well today. And that was the aha moment. She realized her focus was sharper than ever, her memory was better. All that exercise wasn't just changing her body, it was literally changing her brain.
Now, being the brilliant neuroscientist that she is, she couldn't just leave it there. She dove into the research, and what she found completely backed up what she was feeling. It turns out exercise has 3 huge effects on the brain. Let's break them down.
So, first, you've got the immediate effects, what happens right after a single workout. Second, the long-lasting changes that you only get from being consistent. And third, the really crucial protective benefits that can shape the future of your brain's health.
Okay, so think of a single workout as giving your brain a bubble bath of amazing neurochemicals. It immediately floods your brain with stuff like dopamine and serotonin, which is why you get that instant mood boost. It also sharpens your focus for at least 2 hours afterward. Oh, and it improves your reaction times. You are literally quicker to catch that coffee cup you just knocked over. But look, those boosts are temporary. They're great, but the real magic, the stuff that changes your life, happens when exercise becomes a habit. That's when you start to physically change your brain's anatomy. Let's start with a part of your brain called the hippocampus. This is your memory hub. Well, it turns out that consistent aerobic exercise actually causes brand new brain cells to be born right here. So you are literally, physically, building a bigger and stronger memory center. How cool is that? And then there's the prefrontal cortex. Think of it as the CEO of your brain. It handles all the big stuff: decision-making, focus, attention. Regular exercise strengthens this area too. This is exactly why Dr. Suzuki's grant writing suddenly felt easier. Her brain's CEO was getting a serious upgrade. Okay, so this is all great for today, but how does this protect our brains for the long haul? Well, Dr. Suzuki has this absolutely brilliant analogy for it. She says you should think of exercise as a supercharged 401k for your brain. It's an investment you make right now that is going to pay off in massive ways down the road. Here's why that's such a perfect analogy. The hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex, those 2 areas we just talked about, they are the most vulnerable to diseases like Alzheimer's and just normal cognitive decline from aging. So by exercising, you're making them bigger, stronger, and more resilient. You're not necessarily curing these diseases, but you're building up such a strong brain that you can dramatically delay their effect. This all sounds amazing, I know.
But it immediately brings us to the most practical question of all. What's the minimum dose? I mean, how much exercise do we actually have to do to get all these incredible benefits?
The good news here is you really don't have to become a marathon runner. The science is pretty clear, and it points to a very achievable rule of thumb.
First, let's talk about how often. The sweet spot, the minimum you should aim for, is 3 to 4 times a week.
And how long do those sessions need to be? Just a minimum of 30 minutes. That's it. The key is that it has to be aerobic exercise. You've got to get that heart rate up.
And look, you do not need a gym for this. You can get your heart rate up just by adding an extra loop on your walk with the dog, or by always choosing the stairs. You could even, as Dr. Suzuki jokingly suggests, do some power vacuuming around the house. Anything that gets you breathing a little heavier counts.
So when you boil it all down, it comes to this incredibly powerful choice. And this quote from Dr. Suzuki just says it all perfectly. You're not just making your life better today. You're actively protecting your brain for the future. You are investing in yourself.
So the question I want to leave you with isn't just about exercise. It's bigger than that. It's about the power you have right now to change the entire trajectory of your life, starting with your very next step. So, what's that step going to be?